Okay, let me tell you how this typically goes down. You're looking at hiring an attorney, and all of a sudden you finally got the opportunity to talk to someone who's going to talk to you about whether or not you have a case or whether they can help you with your case. Let me tell you two mistakes that most people do. One, they do what's called the brain dump. Now, you're going to sit here and you're going to say to yourself, what does that mean by the brain dump? A lot of times what happens is that people, when they're going to hire an attorney, they don't realize that the attorney that they're talking to, they deal with stuff like this all the time. Your case may be unique to you, but it may not necessarily be unique to them. Meaning, the only thing that's unique is you. But the facts and circumstances may be similar to things that they see all the time. But what happens is that when people go in, they have made the conscious decision that the only way that attorney is going to know what the heck they can do with this case is they have to know everything. And so instead of letting the attorney guide the conversation in terms of what specific information the attorney needs, the person does what is called a brain dump. They go in there and they literally start from A to Z and dump everything on the table. Now, some of you are going to say, well, why is that a bad thing? One, you're basically wasting time because you're throwing out facts out there that the representative or the attorney may or may not need. Two, by doing so, you are making the conscious decision that there are things that the attorney needs to know that's important, that you believe is important, that may or may not be important to the attorney. And then three, you exclude things. And you say, well, what do you mean? That's the second big mistake. A lot of times what happened is because you don't necessarily know what is important or what the attorney needs. You decide everything is important. But you also, even though you may not realize it, you also decide internally what is not important. And so what ends up happening is after you've spent 15, 20, 30 minutes going through this whole laundry list of all these things that you think is going on, and you've been talking to the attorney for about a good 20 minutes, and finally the attorney gets a chance to talk. The attorney starts asking you questions, and then all of a sudden you start to realize that there are things that you left out. Well, you say, oh, I didn't think that, because what? You decided that it wasn't important. It wasn't. Now don't get me wrong. Not being ugly, and it sounds like I'm being stank, and that's not true. What I'm saying is that what happens is that as a result of you making conscious decisions about what you believe is important, you've kind of wasted time. Now, let me tell you why I'm telling you this. Most people, if you're going to an attorney, you usually only have like an hour if you're paying for it and so forth, and you want to get the most out of that hour. So how do you get the most out of that time you've spent for a representative? First, in one sentence, be able to say exactly what you need. Not two sentences, not a paragraph, not a page, not 10 minutes. What specifically do you want to see accomplished? If you come in there and you're like, what's the problem? I think I may have a tax issue, but I'm not sure. So this way the attorney can start framing their thoughts around what the issue is. Two, let the attorney ask you what she or he needs from you in terms of information. Most attorneys follow there are certain checklists or standards or things that need to happen in order for them to know whether they have a case or not. So they may ask you, I was in a car accident and I'm trying to see if I can sue this person. They're going to want to know, who was at fault? What caused the accident? Who was at fault? What injuries did you sustain? How much damages are we looking for? They're looking for those things and they need to be able to know that. Okay? And then finally, listen. Because what happens a lot of times is that when I've had hundreds of clients who come before me and I've had to deal with this with them, and not trying to be nasty, but I understand. You're so passionate about your case that you may sometimes not listen to what is being told to you, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if they tell you, here's the parts of your case that are strong, here are the parts of the weak, and then here's the thing that you don't want to hear, you may or may not have a case. Listen to it, because they're not telling you this to beat you down. They're telling you this because you're spending that time getting their advice, and they want to give you information that you can use. So remember, when you're talking to an attorney, don't dump. Let them guide the conversation, and trust me, you'll get more benefit out of the interview than you will if you go in there thinking that you need to run the show as opposed to letting them find out what they need from you.